Hi, and welcome to the first video in introducing indices on divisibility tests for the numbers 1 to 5. By the end of this video, you should be able to determine whether or not a number can be divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 just by following a simple rule. So let's take a look. First of all, we can work out if any number can divide into another number just by completing the division algorithm. For example, does 6 divide evenly into 432? Well, I set up my division algorithm and I go through the paces. I say 6 into 4 doesn't go, so 6 into 43 goes 7 times and there's 1 left over, and then 6 into 12 goes twice with no remainder, which means yes, it does divide evenly. 6 goes into 432 72 times. Now that's a quite long way of doing it. We just want some quick and easy rules that we can remember that will make it easy for us to work it out. So yes, it does. Let's take a look at some divisibility tests. However, we're going to take a look at some of the language that I'm going to be using in these videos. To start off with the dividend. Now the dividend is the starting number that we want to divide, to be divided. So the number 432 in this case was our dividend. The divisor is the number that is being divided into the dividend. So we want to know how many times 6 goes into 432. 6 is the divisor. The quotient is our answer. In this case, 6 went into 432 72 times. The quotient was 72. And the remainder, the number that is left over once we do our division. Unfortunately, in this example, there was no remainder, so there's nothing to put in red. Let's take a look at the divisibility tests. So if a number is a whole number, then it can be divided by 1. So every single number from 1 all the way up to infinity and into the negatives can be divided by 1, as long as it is whole. That's pretty boring, so let's look at the divisibility test for 2, and this is one that you probably looked at in primary school. And that is if the last digit is an even number or a 0. And that means that it is a 2, 4, 6, 8, or 0. So I've got an example here, 12,345,678. It is not arbitrary. I didn't just pluck those numbers out of the air. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now this number is divisible by 2 because the last number is an 8. Now, if I wanted to change this into a number that wasn't divisible by 2, I could just change the last number, and I've changed it into a 9. This number, 12,345,679, is not divisible by 2. But you already knew that, didn't you? So let's look at the divisibility test for 3. Now, the divisibility test for 3, can a number be divided by 3? All we have to do is work out the sum of the digits. And if the sum of the digits can be divided by 3, then the big number can be divided by 3. Let's take a look at our really large number, 12,345,678. If I added up all those numbers, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8, it equals 36. Now the number 36 can be divided by 3. 3 goes into it 12 times. This means that our big number can be divided by 3. Now let's take for example that you didn't know that 36 could be divided by 3. Well, I could just repeat the process and do 3 plus 6. That gives me 9, and 9 can definitely be divided by 3. So what would I do to change my big number into something that can't be divided by 3? Well, I might just change the last number. I might just add 1 to it. So this number, 12,345,679, when I add up those digits, I get 37. And 37 can definitely not be divided by 3. This means that our big number can also not be divided by 3. The divisibility test for 4 is a little bit more involved, but the number formed by the last 2 digits has to be able to be divided by 4. Now, not the digits themselves, but the actual number that is formed by the last 2 digits. Let's take a look at our number again. 12,345,678. The number 78 has to be divisible by 4. All the other numbers, it doesn't really matter. We just want to know if this number can be divided by 4. Now, unfortunately, I know 78 can't be divided by 4 because I know that 80 is divisible by 4 quite easily. 20 goes into it 20 times, which means that 78 can't be because it's only 2 less than 80. Can't be divisible by 4. However, if I change those last 2 digits into something that can be divided by 4, let's say 4, so this is 12,345,604, I know that those last 2 digits, that number that is formed, can be divided by 4. This means that the big number can be divided by 4. How many times? Who cares? That's not what this video is about. This video is just about whether or not it can be divided by 4. Alright, the last one for 5. Another one that you learnt probably in primary school. And the only test is that if the last digit is a 0 or a 5, it can be divided by 5. So our number, 12,345,678, does not end with a 0 or a 5, which means that it cannot be divided by 5. However, if I change that 78 into a 75, our big number can now be divisible by 5 because it ends with a 5. Hooray! What should you write for this video? Well, the 5 divisibility test is always a good start to have. Plus, I'd also like you to write 5 different 5-digit numbers that can be divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You should just have 5 numbers that are all 5 digits long. And that's it. Hopefully now you can determine if a number can be divided by any of the numbers from 1 to 5. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video where we look at the divisibility test for 6, 8, 9, and 10. Why am I missing 7? You'll find out. Good luck.